It's a great leader that Larry finished off with "We Need a Revolution." That's a great way to finish, and it's a good way for me to start. But what I'm talking about the economic crisis, that's my assignment. And what I want to say from the perspective of revolution, this is why we study the economic crisis, to sharpen our revolutionary perspective. That it is no exaggeration to say that this generation, right now, is living in the rarest of moments in history. It is a rare moment when a world-historic economic social system runs into an impasse and cannot move forward, and moves in the direction of dragging humanity down with it. But that's the moment that we live in. And it has tremendous revolutionary potential. Great dangers, great difficulties, great challenges, but great revolutionary potential.
Go ahead, take your time. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. What is it about this crisis that's different from all the 10 previous crises that have happened in the United States since World War II? The first thing that we notice is the magnitude of the jobless recovery. This crisis is almost 3 years old for the workers. The capitalists have recovered somewhat in the last 19 months. But this began December 2007. This is November 2010. And where are we? 15 million officially unemployed, 26 million officially underemployed or dropped out of the workforce or unemployed. And the real number is probably around 30 or 35 million, even based upon bourgeois studies, the Pew Research Center. But it's not just the magnitude of the unemployment. The fact of the matter is that the capitalist recovery, which is now 17 months old, is based upon not rehiring workers and expanding capitalist production, but on firing workers and shutting down plants and other establishments. This is new. A capitalist recovery is supposed to reabsorb the unemployed, the reserve army of unemployed. It's not doing it, it's doing the opposite. It's still expelling workers from production and from services. This is very important. The banks are throwing money at the bosses and the government is throwing money at the banks, saying to them, here, lend money so that the capitalists will create jobs. But the capitalists are not creating jobs. They're sitting on $1.8 trillion in cash reserves, and they're not spending a nickel of it to expand the capitalist system. This is very, very important. Another aspect of it is there is an unprecedented destruction of the social service infrastructure in the country, at the state, at federal, and every township and every city. They're all throwing workers off the road, on the table. They're all cutting, whatever it is, education, aid to the poor, food for the hungry, treatment for people who need rehabilitation from substance abuse, whatever it may be, it's all being slashed on underneath at the local and state level. It's the analog of shrinking the productive forces in the sector, in the business sector. They're shrinking their own infrastructure to support the working class all over the country. This is uniform. And finally, and very importantly, the capitalist system has shown its inability to get itself going again after this latest crisis. And the capitalist state has become the principal prop of the capitalist system as we are now. The so-called free market is dead. It cannot start anything up again. And the bourgeoisie relies on the capitalist state for bailouts and stimulus and every other thing. And that's a sign of decay and degeneration. The day after the election, the Federal Reserve Board, Ben Bernanke, the president, announced another $600 billion is going to be put into the economic system. It's printed money. It's not money that the Federal Reserve Board has to give. They're going to print it, they're going to create it, and they're going to push it into the system. If people know about football, it's called a Hail Mary pass. It's when you're losing and you're desperate and you throw the ball as far as you can and hope one of your people catches it and runs over the end zone. It usually never happens. That's what this is about. They don't have a clue what's going to happen with that $600 billion. The bosses are sitting on their hands, taking advantage of the crisis to get richer and richer. And then we come to another deep and profound sign, the so-called Deficit Commission. Now, this is a serious matter. It's one of these commissions created by the ruling class. The Congress couldn't agree on it. Obama had to appoint the commission. It should be called the Soak the Masses, Save the Rich Commission. That's what it is. Now, whatever they put out the other day will probably be changed drastically in different directions and details. But the essence of it won't change. Their first program was to raise the Social Security retirement age to 69, to cut back on Social Security benefits, to cut back on Medicaid, to cut back on social programs, to lower the taxes for the rich, both the corporate taxes and the income taxes. It's an austerity program. That's what it is. The austerity that's been imposed upon the workers and the oppressed in this country has gone by piece, slice by slice, beginning with the Reagan and the Carter administration. But now this crisis has brought the ruling class to the point of where they need to impose an across-the-board austerity programs on the population, on the workers. Their junior partners in England have begun a pilot program of a similar nature. They got a nice answer from 50,000 students. Burn down enough buildings there and go to school. And hopefully the workers in England will follow suit in the path of the students and push them back, and hopefully the U.S. ruling class will get the message, and the workers and the students here will get the message soon. But that's a pilot program in austerity. It's the biggest austerity program in Europe and the biggest in the history of England since 1990. And that's what the U.S. ruling class wants to do here. But what does it say about the bourgeoisie's outlook themselves, about their own system? It says this: we realize that we cannot grow our way out of this as a capitalist system. We can't expand our way out of it. It's an admission that the system is in decline and going down. The deficit after World War II was much greater than the deficit right now. Way greater. It was 125% of the gross national product. But U.S. imperialism was entering a period of expansion of the empire going forward and exploitation proceeding apace without end. And they paid off that deficit within a couple of years. Now we're back in insolvency. It's the opposite now. It's the exact opposite. And this deficit is not because of Social Security, it's not because of Medicare, it's not because of unemployment insurance, it's because they use all the money to bail out the bankers and the auto industry and AIG and every capitalist with their hand out. That's where the deficit comes from. And they're not going to do this on our backs. And that's the message we have to send. This austerity program, in spite of the fact that 59 million people, now it has been revealed, 59 million people have no health care. 45 million people live in poverty. 5 million of them are children. I'm sorry, 30 million of them are children. And the racist effect of this crisis is profound. Black people have twice the unemployment rate. The prison population is growing. 36% of the prison population is black. Black and Latino people are suffering desperately from this crisis. And this austerity program is not only an attack in general, it has a profound racist effect that we have to fight against. I can't get off without talking about the G20. Does everybody know the G20, the big capitalist countries? They're the G20. What about the G198, which was called last time, you know, that's the real population of the world, but these are not countries, they're states ruled by ruling classes. That's who they're. It's not the G20, it's the ruling class 20. That's what it is. And they went to South Korea to try to figure out some way to get out of this crisis. But the U.S. imperialists came there to tell the Germans and the Chinese and the Brazilians and everybody else, hey, stop all this exporting. We want the markets. Stop saving money. Spend the money at home. Stop sending your goods abroad because we need exports. And they told them, go take a drink from the sea. That's what they told them. They were stonewalled in South Korea. But what do we take away from this? Here's what we take away as Marxists. What is it about all the desperation for exports? The German imperialists, the Japanese imperialists, the U.S. imperialists, the Brazilian capitalists, and they're big capitalists, don't get me wrong, they're big. They're spreading their wings everywhere. They all can't sell at home. The home market is one of them has their own crisis of overproduction, and they're all trying to exploit their way out of it at the expense of the other. And that shows the global character of the crisis, and it's very intense. It's very intense. I will finish up this way, that we as Marxists, we don't just observe the crisis. And we don't just stop at saying, well, this is the worst crisis in the history since World War II. That's all true. But we want to understand the crisis' origin, because it tells us what the evolution of it is going to be. For 3 decades and more, the capitalist class all over the world, but especially in the United States, Japan, Germany, have been building a capitalist system that it thrives on expelling workers from production and lowering wages by using technology. They are each in a struggle against the other to intensify exploitation, which is the only way they can expand their profits. And this is the way capitalism has been since it was first born 500 years ago. But in the last 30 years, it has accelerated this process beyond imagination. I won't go into all the technological means. But they have created a regime of low-wage capitalism and high productivity of labor. And the productivity of labor has gotten more and more and more, and now quantity has turned into quality. It has reached a qualitative shift. Workers, fewer and fewer workers, produce more and more goods in less and less time for lower and lower wages. And you keep going in that direction. And finally, the capitalist system gets to the point where it cannot start up again. Because immediately it begins production, it's already in a state of overproduction. Because of the fact that they destroy their markets by lowering everybody's wages, and they expand production at astronomical rates. And now, that's what the jobless recovery is about. That's what the $1.8 trillion in cash reserves is about in the hands of the bosses, why they can't invest it. It's not just a capitalist crisis, it's a crisis of the capitalist system that we're living in. A deep and profound crisis of property relations. The way Marx explained, the property relations have come into conflict with the further progress of humanity. The development of society, now it's all starting to go backwards. This is what allows us, in this room, with only maybe a couple of hundred people, to sit and have the audacity to say that there can be a revolutionary future in the United States. Because we understand the fundamental contradictions of capitalism and where it has led to and where we are living right now. At that moment. That's what Marxism is for. To unearth the revolutionary possibilities for the working class and the oppressed. And we see the workers, where nobody has to tell us that they're not doing much right now. Not to say there aren't struggles everywhere, in every city, in every town. Plenty of struggles. But they're isolated struggles. The class is not moving as a class. But we, as materialists, Don't look at the working class in a static way. I like to take a snapshot. Oh, look, they're dead. No. We look at them in relation to the surroundings and the conditions that are to come. And we see the workers not as they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or as they are today, but as the way they will become under the conditions of the 1930s when they fought under the slogan, "Don't starve, let's fight." That was the slogan. The slogans are going to come back. Maybe a different slogan, but the same idea. Material conditions ultimately determine the consciousness of people, not the other way around.
Go ahead, Fred.
And I'll finish this way. The greatest obstacle that the workers in this country have faced historically is that they have been cut off from a revolutionary Marxist vanguard party. That is the greatest obstacle. They have been cut off from an agent that can bring class consciousness, that can bring the fire of revolutionary struggle, that can understand the bourgeoisie and its the class enemy. Whenever the party got strong in this country and toward the workers, the bourgeoisie rooted it out. They witch hunted them. They have done everything to keep a party from developing, and when it develops, they have done everything to keep it from reaching the proletariat. That is the problem of the workers' face. There's no revolutionary vanguard to fuse with the proletariat and to help them in their struggle forward. And that dictates our task. We must build a revolutionary party, one that will not succumb to the idea that the working class cannot liberate itself and must depend upon the Democratic Party or some bourgeois liberal organ. We stand with Marx that the task of the liberation of the working class is the task of the working class, not some bourgeois liberals. If we remain dependent, we will never liberate ourselves. We need to build our party. We need to get to the workers one way or the other. Sam Marcy used to say, if you can't get in the front door, they throw you out. You climb in the window. If you can't get into the window, you get through the attic and the chimney. But you get there to the working class. And that's our job. Build the Workers' World Party. Face to the workers. Build the struggle. Long live the socialist revolution.